This video discusses glyphosates, which is an herbicide, in raising St. Croix sheep, and how raising St. Croix sheep is one of the ways that you can become free of glyphosates in your diet. Glyphosates is found in the herbicide called Roundup that was manufactured by Monsanto. It's now been taken over by Bayer. And almost every farmer that raises corn uses Roundup or glyphosates to control the weeds in their corn patch. I asked a farmer at church how he could possibly hoe 200 acres of corn that he was planting. He said, "I don't hoe anything. I spray the entire 200 acres with Roundup and it kills every last living thing on it. And I come back and I plant Roundup ready corn, which is genetically modified. And then once it gets to a certain size, I spray it again, and that kills all the weeds." So not only are they spraying the field with Roundup and glyphosates, they're also modifying the corn. Now the corn, the way I understand it, they found some algae growing in a vat of glyphosates at the Monsanto plant, and they couldn't believe it. But when they decided to take this algae and incorporate the genetic material inside the algae in the corn. So they combined the two and made corn that's really not corn, but can grow in Roundup just like that algae did. Now, if you're eating any type of corn chip that doesn't say organic on the label, whether it's tortillas or anything, if it's not labeled organic like this one is, this one has the organic label, it's probably GMO sprayed with glyphosates. And you've got a lot of glyphosates in your diet already. This study at the NIH, it found that 80%, 4/5 of the U.S. general population, ages over 6 years old, they're all being exposed to glyphosate. So you're being exposed, I'm being exposed. Anyone that doesn't understand this is being exposed to glyphosate. Exposure to glyphosate is tied to cancer. This man, Dwayne Lee Johnson, was awarded $289 million in damages for being exposed to glyphosate. Monsanto appealed and got it down to $21 million after appeal, but the reason they were fined is that they knowingly failed to warn consumers that Roundup could be harmful. After an international body said that glyphosate is carcinogenic or causes cancer, over 300 federal lawsuits have been filed. Another man was awarded $80 million in a lawsuit that Roundup caused his cancer. It was lowered to $26 million. Another case awarded $2 billion that Bayer had to pay. Now, Bayer has bought out Monsanto after finding that it was cancer-causing. Finally, Bayer agreed to settle over 100,000 Roundup lawsuits, agreeing to pay $8 to $9 billion to settle these claims. This has wrecked the stock value of Bayer. It's lost 46% of its value in stock because of 11,200 lawsuits filed against Monsanto. But on top of that, by 2023, 50,000 more claims were still made against Bayer and Monsanto for it causing cancer. As a result, Monsanto or Bayer is going in front of the Supreme Court trying to block these thousands of lawsuits against them. All because they failed to tell any of us that their glyphosates could cause cancer. Now, the Trump administration has come out on Bayer's behalf for all this, trying to get them off the hook, even though that's totally opposite to make America healthy again. As the studies all show that Roundup's key ingredient, glyphosate, does cause cancer, or is at least associated with it. And so Bayer has set aside $16 billion to settle these cases. It's so serious. So what does this have to do with raising St. Croix sheep and getting away from glyphosates with these sheep? Well, St. Croix are one of the few breeds that can be raised entirely without dewormers. If you look at the organic specification for what's allowed to raise something organically, these dewormers, they're all prohibited in any of your livestock. You cannot use dewormers and still be certified as organic. So any of these sheep breeds that rely on dewormers to live, they can never be certified as USDA organic. If they can't be certified organic, then there's no reason for a sheep breeder or a shepherd to ever use organic feed for them, because this stuff costs $25 a bag. And so anybody that raises sheep that aren't organic, they're using glyphosate in their feed if they're feeding grain to them. So if they're using dewormers, then there's no reason for them to pay for very expensive organic feed, because they can never be certified organic. They're using the cheap stuff sprayed with glyphosate. And the reason I know about this is I made the same mistake. Up until 2024, I was feeding this glyphosate sprayed feed to all of my stock as well. And to be fair, other breeds than St. Croix can be certified organic if you don't use dewormers, and if you live in an area that doesn't have a high worm load, like if you live out in a very dry area out west, or someplace that doesn't have all these worms like we have in Tennessee. But even if you are deworming and can't get your certification for organic, the other way around the glyphosate problem is to be 100% grass-fed, because glyphosates are meant to kill weeds in crops like corn. Now 2,4-D is what they spray on grass and on pastures, and that's another video. But you would get around glyphosate just by not having any grain fed to your animals. If you do it 100% grass, then you're going to avoid this glyphosate problem. So you are what you eat, and therefore you are whatever it ate, whatever your animals eat too. And while it makes a lot of sense to shop for organic food down at the grocery store, if you're not feeding organic feed to your animals without glyphosates, you're going to end up with glyphosates in your system anyway. Well, thanks for watching the video.